And good morning, my friends. It is Tuesday. OJ, I thought you were taking a nap. Get over there. Come on, you go on. Sorry about the disruption. You're right, Real Rockin' Robin. Michael needs to be found. Little Bit made it in. Hey, girlfriend. Jen's in. Dispatch Crystal. Our girl Slim Shady. Now, we had a guest planned for today. Samantha is still going to be coming up. Carson Starkey was all about coming on the show. Now, I've only called him like 9 times this morning. I've got my phone on charge. I'm going to keep looking at it. I'm going to keep calling because I've had some very, very, very interesting conversations with him over the last few months. I would say. I do not think that Carson or his wife, Dorothy, are involved in Michael's abduction and whatever transpired after. As we know, there are 4 named suspects. That is the Hamburglar up in the left-hand corner, Sarah Wandera. Grimace, her husband, Stacy. Adrian, I'm starting to understand where he fits into this. That'll be for another show. And Brandon shirtless. Brandon is back. He is back in Idaho. He is talking to people on Instagram. He is on the TikTok. He's doing it all. Woo, he's a busy boy. He is a busy boy. We have a lot to talk about. And I'm going to continue calling Carson. His mom was supposed to wake him up at 8:30 Central Time. I even heard him say to his mom, make sure you wake me up at 8:30. Well, actually, he said 7:30 his time. So, I'm going to keep calling. I promise the show will still go on. Let's take a second and welcome our neighbor, Baptist style. Say hola to whoever's on top or on bottom. Ooh, that sounded kinky. And we're here. We are here. Minky, girlfriend, where you been? Haven't seen you in a while. If I missed you yesterday, I apologize. Damn, we got a lot going on. I think the only thing that is going to get this prosecuting attorney to move forward, that would be to throw the smoking gun in his lap. And no, I'm not saying there's a gun involved. It's a metaphor. Fun to see Ski said Carson and Dorothy were neighbors of the Wanderers. You bet. You bet. And Carson knows Stacy, Sarah, and Brandon very well. It blew me away when he said he's actually never seen Adrian. He doesn't know Adrian. That's not me saying that Adrian is not a suspect, because obviously law enforcement is saying he is a suspect. But it is time for justice, and I really hope that this prosecuting attorney gets something going fast, because Michael deserves justice. Let's bring up our friend Samantha with Missing PNW. we had quite the conversation with Carson yesterday, did we not, my friend?
Yeah, we sure did. Good morning.
And for those that don't know who Carson Starkey is anyone confused about who we're talking about? Because I know in this case, it gets really confusing. If anyone's confused about who Carson Starkey is, Slim can answer, one of the mods can answer, but the short and curlies are Carson lives next door to the Wanderers.
Yep, I know who he is.
Oh, yeah, you got to know him real well yesterday. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to call him right now. I wish I had his mom's number. Give me a second.
Yep, he said Mom was supposed to be waking him up this morning.
Mhm.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Carson Starkey
Is not available. The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at the...
Well, I've only left 10 freaking messages this morning. Son of a bitch. All right, so let's go through what we spoke to Carson about yesterday. For me, I am really intrigued with all the business that was being done at the lube shop in Ontario, Oregon. I don't know why, but that's what I'm really looking at. As you see, he seems to be really up in arms that Brandon is back in Idaho and Brandon is so prevalent on social media. This is when Brandon was talking to some of his friends. There he is, Brando, Johnny Shirtcliffs, whatever. This guy asked him, he said, "You good?" He said, "Yes, sir. Just trying to do a little wrenching is all. Thank you, thank you. How's your day treating you?" "Not bad, brother. Where's your shop located?" Brother, it is located at 118 Southwest First, Ontario, Oregon. My friends are trying to start Wanderers Lube. There is already an awesome detail shop next door. Okay, and here are the owners of Wanderers Lube. Would anybody want them working on their car? I'm asking Samantha and I'm asking the chat.
Well, like Starkey said, that he wasn't very good at working on cars anyway because he couldn't fit under the hood or under the car.
Mhm.
Or cars, working on it. I don't know. I can't say that I would or wouldn't, but knowing what I know now, no, then neither one of them working on my damn car.
No, held to the no. And that is one thing because Carson was talking to us and he said Stacy couldn't fit under a car. Matter of fact, he couldn't even get under a hood. He couldn't sandwich himself under there. And no, this is not fat shaming. This is a physical reality.
Yeah, he said he couldn't even get his hands down into the engines and stuff because his hands were so large. And I get that. I used to help my dad work on vehicles because his hands were very large because he was a big man, No fat shaming, just facts.
But I'm gonna abduction shame. You damn right I am. So as we know, Stacy told us on this channel that he had to stop at Southwest in Arizona to put power steering fluid into his truck. And that's when he saw the child. That child is Michael Vaughn. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit. Don't worry. Talking to Carson yesterday, for one, he knew nothing of any power steering problems. And he also said that Stacy himself wouldn't have been able to put any power steering fluid in. That means they just stopped and pretended that they were working on the car. Does that make sense, Samantha? It makes sense to me after what Carson told us yesterday.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I don't think he was ever on the side of the road to put power steering fluid in, period. Even if Carson didn't say anything, I mean, it's kind of obvious what the purpose of pulling over to the side of the road was, what going to the splash pad was that day, why Brandon's walking around the neighborhood that day, why, Stacy's at a different splash pad later in the day. I mean, what's up with the splash pads? What's up with being in these locations where children could be?
Oh, because they were trolling for a child. And we already knew that the power steering thing was just a bunch of BS. But like True Crime Beat said, it was a fake stop because they found their mark. That is what happened. They found their mark. And this is after a day of trolling around. Had a long conversation also with Carson about who is this man. I sent him the picture. He has seen it on his local news. I told him what Stacy said on the show. Said, "Oh, that's just a guy that walks around the neighborhood all the time." And he said, "That's Brandon."
Yeah, and it looks like Brandon to me, and several other people that I know that I've talked to about this case. They believe that it's Brandon. And if this wasn't Brandon, if this is some other guy in the neighborhood that just walks around the neighborhood, then why hasn't this man came forward, talked to Fruitland Police, and said, "Hey, that's a picture of me walking around the neighborhood"?
He said, "That's Brandon."
I mean, even his arms and the way that the muscles are, I don't know, just there's so many things here that say that it's Brandon to me. The way that the cut shirt is cut down underneath the armpits. Brandon wore those kinds of shirts all the time. The hat that he is wearing looks like a hat that's in other pictures on his Facebook profile. Just there's so much.
Well, and not to mention that, Stacy was like, "Oh no, that's not Brandon because he doesn't wear shirts like that. What is this?" This is Brandon with his daughter. And yes, I took her little beautiful face out. Does that look like a cutoff shirt to you?
Yeah, and there's several on his Facebook of him wearing cutoff sleeves.
100%. And it's damn sure not Tyler Vaughn because he wasn't walking around looking for a child to abduct that day. All right, so let's go through more of our conversation we had with Carson. I'm going to continue calling him. He does have the link. He mentioned a ring that was traded for work done on one of their vehicles. I had questions as to where the ring came from. He said this ring is valued at $2,500, and this was for him to replace ball bearings on one of their vehicles.
Yeah, and I think you were kind of spot on when you said, because he said that that Stacy and Sarah had a conversation about this ring and whether or not they wanted to give it to him to pay him for the ball rings. And Sarah agreed with Stacy to go ahead because he thought that this ring had been for Sarah. But when you said you thought, I bet that ring came from Sarah's mom, I think that that's where that ring came from. I think you were onto something there. Because I've heard many, many rumors floating around. I don't know if it's true or not, that Sarah would take things from her mom all the time.
And Brandon took things from Tina all the time. So that ring came from one of two places that they gave to Carson. It's either Kay or Tina. A lot of people, let me go through the cast of characters real quick. And I hate to say it that way. At the top left, this is Sarah Wandra, suspect in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. Below, Stacy Wandra, suspect in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. Adrian Lucian, suspect in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. Below him, I've got the banner up, that is Brandon Shirtliff. There's a lot. We have a whole playlist, and there's a ton going on. The Ring, to me, is super suspect. The more he talked about how they would get people to do things for them in other areas, tells me where Adrian actually fits in. All right, so now he did, which has been verified by law enforcement, say he has nothing to hide. He voluntarily let them search his backyard. They probed it, they droned it, they did everything. Now, this is after Sarah Wandra said Michael is buried in the Starkeys' backyard. Well, obviously, they did not find Michael in the backyard, but they found evidence that Michael was at one time in the Wanderer's backyard. Now, let's talk about some things that he found to be odd at their home. I'll let you go first, Samantha.
What they found, what did you just say? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I cut out?
Yeah, just a little bit. You cutting out a little bit like you were doing yesterday on the phone. It wasn't super bad, but I didn't hear everything you said.
What did you find to be a little jaw-dropping about things that he noticed in their backyard?
Oh, well, he said he noticed that there was a big wheel in the backyard. That was a little jaw-dropping, and he happened to say that right after you started talking about Michael and the backyard, and that there is, evidence that Michael had been in the yard and then later removed and put somewhere else. And yeah, I mean, that's actually the most shocking thing that he said about that backyard. And yeah, it was a little bit shocking.
Yep, he said there were several big wheels back there. They're toys. Here, I'll just put it on the screen what a big wheel is. Just a simple Google search.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused when he used the word like it was in plural, like multiple. I don't think he meant it to be plural, just the way that he was saying it. I think he said big wheels because a lot of people refer to it as big wheels instead of big wheel.
Well, that's what I put in, big wheels, and that's what they had in their backyard.
Yeah,
And
I just don't think that there was more than one, though. I think he actually meant to just say there was one.
And
I
he
don't
thought
know.
that was odd because, and
Yeah.
I think it's very odd too, because I don't think either of these two could get on one of those toys. Stacy himself could shit a big wheel.
Yeah, and I mean, they were watching that young lady too, but she was 12 years old and she's too big for a big wheel. And that seems to be the only other child that was around that they had there at the house. So why is there a big wheel in the backyard? Why is Carson saying there's a big wheel in the backyard? I am to the point though where I take everything anybody says in this case with a grain of salt until it's actually like proven. I mean, he's not on the show today, and that's kind of really upsetting because he really did sound interested in coming. He really made it sound like he was going to be here today. So now I'm just kind of like, okay, he kind of gave us a really big piece of, a big piece of whatever talking about this big wheel. And I'm wondering if he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. And maybe that's why he's not here today, because I think he made himself nervous.
He might have made himself nervous, and that's okay. And I don't really pay too much attention as to what toys are in neighbors' yards. I don't know if they babysit, have grandchildren. I mean, I can, tell if they have children around, quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Hindsight's a bitch. If I happen to find out later that, let's say, Linda abducted a child, I'd be like, well, that's kind of weird. I wondered why she had that big wheel out there, but I didn't really pay enough attention. Not that Linda would do this, but when he said he did think it was weird they had a big wheel out there.
Yeah.
All right, so the big wheel, the fact that Stacy could never get under the hood to even do anything with the power steering. He didn't even know about power steering fluid because he said any mechanical issue they had, they would bring it to Carson. That's the reason he got that $2,500 ring, which could be Tina's case, who knows, for putting in a $50 ball bearing. Why would you give somebody $2,500 ring? Why not sell it and give him what he's owed? Because I said, is it chiplets? Is it a real ring? And he's like, well, I was born at night, but not last night. He said, I already had it checked out. He still has the ring.
Yeah, it did. It sounded like he still had it. He didn't act like he had given it away. It is kind of interesting.
I might try to call his ass again. His mom's not doing her fucking job.
And that would have been a good question to be able to ask him if he would have came on the show. Just like, how many, did you see other kids over there?
He only knew about the one girl that they were watching, and she's way too big to be on a big wheel.
Yeah.
And people pawn stolen stuff all the time. Somebody's got to show up with a police report and say, I hear it's here.
Your call has been forwarded to
All right, well, we'll just stay on that. All right, let's just do a little recap of the case because some people don't know about the case, and we're going to get to it. I promise.
Welcome back. Tonight in our missing series, a renewed search for a 5-year-old boy named Michael Monkey Vaughn. We brought this story for the first time last year, but tonight, the first national TV interview with both of Michael's parents and newly released photos of a man police say was nearby at the time of Michael's disappearance. Correspondent Marky Martin is joining us live. And Marky, you've been with this case for some time now. You traveled to Idaho last winter to speak with his mother, but now you've had the chance to speak to both of his parents. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Natasha, so we heard from Michael's dad, Tyler, for the very first time this week. He was the parent who was actually at home at the time that Michael went missing. And today marks 1 year since that little boy, who is lovingly known as Monkey, walked out the door and never came home.
We haven't stopped. Every day we have unfinished business, and I'll tell you that every day is an anniversary of the disappearance from Michael Vaughn.
It's been 365 days, a year of searching with no answers. For the 5-year-old Fruitland boy whose 2021 disappearance garnered nationwide attention and support.
Hi. What are you doing back?
Last July, Michael Vaughn was at home with his dad and baby sister while mom was at work. Family says he walked out, searching for neighborhood kids to play with.
He went to a neighbor's house. He went to another neighbor's house and another neighbor's house.
Last winter, Michael's mom, Brandy, invited our News Nation team to their Idaho home, walking us through her son's last moments there.
He would have come out of the garage. The front door is pretty hard to get out of, and you can hear that opening.
At the time, his dad, Tyler, declined to speak with us. But this week, that changed. The couple sitting together for their first national TV interview.
It doesn't feel like a year. It's been an eternity.
Tyler, a lot of people curious why, if you were the one at home, why you haven't done a lot of talking with the media. What's your response to people who want to know that question?
Because I was the one at home.
You know, God bless Tyler. Like he said, because I was the one at home. Kat Owens, our good friend, Just Kat, brought me this case back in 2022. She said, you really need to talk about the case of Michael Vaughn. And you know how Kat and I go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I said, hang on. I said, I don't want to hear your opinion of it. I said, let me go through what I need to go through. My first questions were, who's around Michael? Who's around him?
Mm-hmm.
When I started reading and especially looking at what law enforcement said, and particularly when they brought their own FBI agent in and stationed him in Fruitland and happened to be someone that worked on the Elizabeth Smart case, I'm like, oh, hell. Unless Tyler is Batman, he could never have done this. There's just no way. There is no way. In this frame of time, there's no way he could have done this. I mean, we're talking about murder, cleanup, burial, getting out of the neighborhood. Somebody would have seen him leave. All the neighbors have said is they saw him outside looking for his son. And there he says, because I was the one. In 20 minutes, you're telling me he did this. We know the timeline now. And Stacy actually helped us with it a lot. Go ahead, Sam. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. And I didn't mean to try cutting you off, but I mean, Chris Madonna did an excellent timeline when he goes there. He did an interview with Tyler. He talked to him. He did a rundown of him and Tyler in the backyard. Tyler telling him exactly where Michael was, what was going on, what he did, you know, and yeah, he broke it down so very specifically that there's just absolutely no way, like you're saying, to have time to do anything to Michael, to clean up, to put him somewhere or anything else. There's just absolutely no way. And since there's evidence in the backyard of the Wanderers house and Tyler didn't know the Wanderers, I mean, that right there kind of, you know, puts a damper on anybody that tries to say that Tyler did have anything to do with it. He's seen immediately in the vehicle driving around the neighborhood on CTT cameras or CCT cameras, however the heck you say it. And also on a phone call to Brandy, who is at work and is seen being at work. So she has nothing to do with it. Some people want to even talk about Papa at home, and Papa is out of town talking with friends, getting a haircut. His alibi is also solid. No adult there at the house had anything to do with Michael Vaughn's disappearance. And my heart also hurts for Tyler. It really, really does, because when you hear, especially this one, I've seen this clip before. I mean, you would feel that way, wouldn't you? If it happened on your time. I mean, and he feels,
of course.
yeah.
You already know that people are looking right at you. Like, what were you doing? And,
Yeah.
in this day and age, it's a crime to take a nap when a child's at home. It's a crime to take a shower when a child's at home. People really expect you to be an octopus, you know.
And it's apparently a crime to go wake up your baby that's been sleeping too long, that you don't want to stay up all night long and change her diaper and then come back out. And all Monkey wanted to do was go find somebody to play with. And, you know, he was just wanting to go play. Michael.
And he calls Brandy. No. He calls Brandy at work and he's like, I can't find Monkey. He doesn't say Monkey got gone. Monkey's missing. He's like, I can't find Monkey. She kind of blew Tyler off. She's like, oh, he's probably here. You know, his different places he likes to play around the house. Sometimes he'll hide and jump out as, have you checked here? Have you checked here? Have you checked here? So he got off the phone and he was like, okay. Any of you, you know, I've been married to DT Driver quite a while. He will call me from the bedroom and ask where his underwear is. Okay. So, I mean, for him to call Brandy and say, I can't find Monkey. Then when he calls her again and he's outside, they have all of his movements after that phone call to Brandy. And of course she comes home. Well, I got to help him find Michael. She didn't say, "Oh, Michael's missing." It never, ever penetrated their brain that Michael had been abducted.
Well, and one of the first places that Tyler ends up going is the splash pad, because a year prior to his abduction, he had followed his brother to the splash pad, and Papa saw him, found him, took him home, reprimanded him a little bit, like, you can't take off like that. You can't be following brother up to the splash pad. So, he had kind of done the same thing before, of just like, you just can't start blame. I mean, yeah, parents are going to be looked into and everything else, but this was looked into. During that Chris Madonna interview, Tyler says that they are splitting open the water heater. They're searching drawers in the garage. They're looking through the entire house. They're using dogs up and around their house, in the neighborhood. They're, came back to their house several times. So it wasn't like they weren't looked into. They were, but they realized, okay, this isn't this is an abduction. That's when they called it an abduction, and that's when shit starts hitting the fan here, when they realize this kid's been abducted.
And in any case, when people say, "Well, why don't they interrogate?" They interrogated Brandy and Tyler and their older children. They brought in a guardian ad litem to sit with the older children to ask what happened that afternoon. Everything fit. Everyone had the same story. They certainly didn't have any time to put a story together. And here's the whole thing. We know Brandy and Tyler, no one in that house has anything to do with Michael's disappearance. These right here, these scumbags, this scum of the earth right here, these are the suspects. Sarah, Stacy, Adrian, Brandon.
And let's not forget, Sarah Wandra is arrested. She's arrested for not reporting the death of a child. And even though those charges were dropped, they were dropped in a way where they can later still charge her for that, because of things that she said when they went to the house on a tip that's based by what Stacy Wandra told police. So the tip to the backyard comes from Stacy, and Sarah gets arrested when she says she knows that Stacy has involvement and that Adrian has involvement. So you have one of these suspects throwing people under the bus. And these parents, yes, they were talked to and everything else. Fruitland police talk about Brandy and Tyler like they are their family. It's actually mentioned in several news conferences that they consider each other family, that they consider Michael to be like their son. They're so invested in looking for Michael. They've done an amazing job. The parents feel like they're doing an amazing job. They've been able to actually find persons of interest and suspects in this case.
And they sure did. And over the years, I mean, we took a lot of hits around here when I just said, the math's not mathing. No way can she do something from work. I don't see them to be some sort of gangsters where they can set something up. And they love their family. They love their children. And, for those that still don't understand, here's a little clip.
I'd like to note that after a year-long thorough investigation, the family is not a focus of our investigation at this point. They are continuing to fully cooperate with us in all of our efforts from the investigation standpoint. Today, as members of this community,
Not a focus. Now let's go to, now it's sealed now, and Samantha's 100% right that the charges against Sarah Wandler when she got arrested for failure to report a death, and that would be the death of Michael Vaughn. Those charges were dismissed without prejudice, meaning they can pick them up any time. This is what she said. Okay, Fruitland police obtained a search warrant. According to court documents, police forced entry into Wanderer's home around 9:30 p.m. Friday. Now, this is in November of 2022. Sarah's fat ass is laying in the living room. I can just imagine. She was detained and read a copy of the search warrant. When I got to the portion that read murder, she said, "Did you just say murder?" multiple times. A Fruitland police officer wrote in the affidavit. She also said, "I've never murdered anyone." Officials said Sarah Wanderer maintained that she definitely did not kill that boy and that the Most High God already told me who did it. She reportedly told police, "Oh, wow. The Most High God just told me that Stacy was the one that killed him and buried him in the yard of the neighbor's house." That neighbor is Carson Starkey. Carson Starkey gave them full access to his backyard. They didn't have to dig it up. They probed it. They droned it. They did the whole 9 yards. They also probed and droned the Wanderer's backyard, and they knew that Michael was either there or had been there, which is why they excavated it for many days. Officials said Sarah Wanderer maintained that she definitely did not kill that boy. When asked later to show police where the boy was buried, according to the affidavit, she told police of a spot near the entry of her residence and said Stacy had buried him in the backyard by the shed. Police said by that point they had begun hand digging a portion of the Wanderer's yard based on information received from Stacy. Remember, when Stacy was interrogated by detectives, he's the one that told him where Michael was buried. Then he turned around and said he made it up. Well, he didn't make it up. The joke's on you, Stacy, and none of this is a joke, because 2 people were in the house when you and Sarah went to jail for your guns and your drugs and beating up Tanner with the dog bone. And that's because he wanted to move the grill over where Michael was buried. There was 2 people in that house and they got spooked. And they moved Michael. Backyard by the shed. That information came from Stacy. That's how they got the probable cause. He's the probable cause. Sarah Wanderer was arrested and told police, "God just told me that Stacy was the one who did it," adding that she knew the body was in the neighbor's yard because that's what Stacy just told me. Then she corrected herself and said that's what God told her, according to the affidavit. She's trying to play crazy. What did Carson say yesterday about her in the driveway talking to God?
Oh, he said something about her being in the front of the house, yelling up to the sky to God. And, I've actually heard things about her going from that to laying in the driveway, like laying in the driveway, screaming, doing all of this stuff, to the point where police ended up getting called because she's like acting like a friggin' lunatic out there. I really do believe, and this is my own personal opinion, and I know some people think that, Sarah's just crazy, and that's okay. My personal opinion is that Sarah lost her mind because she witnessed something horrific. And I believe that that was Michael's death or something. And because I really truly believe, when I'm watching her TikToks and everything else, I don't know. I can't prove that she's not faking it. My mom had a lot of mental health issues. I really do believe she witnessed something horrific and literally screamed. If not, I don't know what your opinion is on that, but she Yeah, some of the things, it's pretty extreme to be writing on her arms, about Jesus, writing on T-shirts. I mean, walking around, going to in front of a smoke shop, wearing a T-shirt and a sign that's about Jesus, and like all of this other stuff. And it all started after Michael's abduction. And yeah, it's just some really, really, really crazy stuff when you go through all of it and really listen to what she's saying. Sometimes she even sounds like she's slurring her words. Maybe it's antidepressants or something to like keep her calmed down or something. But I know that when people do have nervous breakdowns and stuff, they do have a tendency to get like in this God state of mind. And we have all heard and seen her go into this God state of mind. And I really do think she witnessed something or saw something. I don't know.
People always said she was a little off, but she didn't give a shit about Jesus until all this happened. We have a little bit of echo, and no, nobody here is feeling bad for Sarah at all. Don't get it skewed. All right, so Sarah went on and she said, God just told me that Stacey was the one who did it. I agree with Sarah, and I think she's saying that because she witnessed what happened. She goes on to say, that's what Stacey just told me. She allegedly reiterated to police that she had nothing to do with it. She said her husband buried Michael in the backyard by the shed, but wasn't the one who actually harmed the boy. She said instead that a man identified only as Adrian had been the one that had done it, and he was scared to tell anybody. I don't even think that is the truth, and I can tell you something right now. I am not at all taken up for Adrian Lucian because he's a POS as well. I'll tell you who's not a POS. That's my friend, Miss Always Right Ryan. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Thanks for keeping this channel going. You are amazing. Through talking to other people, I can figure out where Adrian fits in. I need to make it more clear before I get into it. But I think our conversation with Carson yesterday was pretty damn productive.
Yeah, I think Adrian is definitely, I mean, I don't know how his involvement is. He's a criminal. He's got a long history of criminal activity, drug trafficking and whatnot. He takes off. He's really good at hiding. He's really good at changing all of his profiles on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram.
Spotify. He's all over the Spotify thing.
Yeah, because he's like a musician, or wants to think that he is. I think it's actually sucky, but that's my opinion. But he, once he's found by somebody, it does not take him very long for him to switch up all of his accounts all over again, and he's very good at doing so.
Agree. Okay, Carson is still not answering. This is really irritating the hell out of me. So he mentioned the ring that they traded for ball bearings and, of course, labor. He knows that Brandon's back in Idaho, and that seemed to really get under his skin. We already know that his backyard search they didn't need a warrant. He let him do it. Looking back, he said them having the big wheels in the back, he knew something was up, but I don't think that he put it together that they actually had Michael Vaughn.
Yeah, he seemed pretty sketched out when you mentioned that Brandon was back in town. I'm wondering if he knew that, or if it just maybe surprised him that you knew that, or how you knew that, but he was pretty sketched out about that.
Well, I told him he's been picked up. He's been arrested. He's got tickets. And yeah, Brandon, there's his mug shot. Look at that. People are putting this. True Crime The Missing on TikTok is putting it out. And there's Brandon. He loves to reply to his own stuff. He goes, ooh, sexy looking innocent man there. I don't know how or where this lovely photo came from. It's your mugshot. and you're not a sexy looking innocent man. You're a suspect in the abduction of Michael Vaughn. You sickos.
I feel like because I was the responsible party, I don't like being in the public eye at all, and it's because I, to some extent blame myself.
For most of the afternoon, Tyler says Michael played with his monster trucks and Nintendo Switch, and that around dinner time, he ordered a pizza and went down the hall to change the baby's diaper. When he came back out, Michael wasn't there.
Searched the house, searched the backyard, went out in the front yard, jumped in the van, called Brandy.
He says he raced around the neighborhood and was the one who called 911.
The Fruitland Police, Payette Police, and Payette County deputies and citizens searched through the night until support arrived the following morning.
In the last year, more than 3,000 acres and nearby river have been searched. No suspects have been named, but authorities say they have persons of interest. Fruitland police asking for the public's help in identifying this man, seen in newly released photos, walking in a nearby park at the time of Michael's disappearance. And to this day, nobody has been cleared, including Tyler and Brandy.
What do you tell people who say, do they know more than they're letting on?
A lot of the speculation online is based in fantasy land.
Law enforcement and God knows.
Oh, it is based in fantasy land. I can't tell you the stuff that was sent to me. It's definitely slowed down because there's 4 suspects. Tyler was having an affair with the babysitter. Tyler was high on meth. Tyler this, Tyler this, Tyler this. Yeah. Brandy couldn't have been at work the whole time. I mean, everything that was coming out of these channels was ridiculous. It's like, can you not follow what law enforcement is saying?
Our truth, and we'll stand firm and stand strong.
Fruitland police confirming with News Nation the couple has cooperated with the investigation. Today, Michael would be 6. His parents grieving another summer without him. A summer they say should be spent playing and camping as a family.
Right. Time for bed now.
But I still want to look at some stars.
He is pure joy, love, excitement, much excitement, energy, lots of energy. You can't not fall in love with him.
Both Tyler and Brandy tell me they do believe that their son is out there alive. They still believe he's coming home. And Natasha, I asked both of them, what would justice look like in your eyes? Brandy's answer was if her son comes back alive and well, she could find it in her heart to forgive. Tyler said he just wants his child home. Legal punishment would take care of the rest. And I do also have to mention, to this day, Fruitland police, they have declined to go on camera for an interview with our crew since day one. Natasha.
Marky, I can't imagine what these last several months have been like for this family. Can I ask, do Michael's parents fear the case going cold at this point? What is being done to keep his name and face on people's radars?
Yeah, it's a great question. And actually, they do not fear this case growing cold. They say there's new tips coming in all the time. They're actually excited about some new technology that's going to aid in some of the searches. And one of the biggest criticisms of this case has been Michael Vaughn never received an Amber Alert. His case did not fall under the criteria for the state of Idaho. It's outraged a lot of people. A lot of people think things could be different if that happened. But also last week, Fruitland police announcing they've teamed up with the Homeward Bound program, which advocates for missing children. Starting in August, Natasha, there will be semi-trailers crisscrossing across the country with his name and face on them.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Meanwhile, speaking of new tips, what else have police said about that newly released photo of that man walking by the home around the time Michael went missing? Do we know anything about him?
Mind you, this is in hindsight, okay? This is from, quite a while ago. Fleur wants to know why no Amber Alert. We talk about this quite often. We talked about it with Sebastian yesterday. We've talked about it in Oklahoma cases, Texas cases. Every state has a different criteria. Some states say if a child is basically just not with their parents or guardians, like Tennessee and Iowa, then there's an Amber Alert, just like that. Oklahoma, they need to know the last person the child was with. They need a description of the car they drive, tag number if possible, then you get an Amber Alert. Every state is different. It curled my toes yesterday when I sent that picture to Carson, and he didn't even have to think about it. He goes, "That's Brandon."
Oh, yeah. I think it's obvious that it's Brandon.
He said, "That's Brandon." I told him, I said, "I don't know if you've seen, my conversations with Stacy." I go, Stacy's like, "Oh, that's just a guy that walks around the neighborhood." He goes, "That's Brandon. That's Brandon." Let's see what she says.
Yeah, so we actually don't know a lot. In that police press conference that was held last week, they said they'd be releasing those photos. They did a couple days later, and the police chief just saying, "We know these are grainy. This is not a suspect or even a person of interest, but this person was walking near the splash pad area of a nearby park leading up to when Michael disappeared." So they said they just want to find this person, have him come forward to talk to him, see if he saw anything. Maybe he saw something he didn't even realize he was witnessing at the time. They just want this person to come forward.
So why would lazy ass Brandon, and yes, Brandon, I'm talking to you because I know you're listening, because I guarantee Carson got a hold of you last night. I also know that when Stacy got picked up on his parole violation and went back to jail, one of the issues that his parole officer had was that Stacy had been talking to Brandon Shirtliff and to Randy Strickland. Those are the two people that were still at the Wanderers home when Stacy and Sarah got picked up for the dog bone incident, having guns they weren't supposed to have, which when you're a felon, you're not supposed to, drugs, you name it. But two people were still flopping at that house, and that was Brandon Shirtliff and Randy Strickland. And Brandon, I've got all day for you. I have got all day for you, Mr. Hot Tub Time Machine. I've got all day. I mean, I will clear my week for you, Brandon. You are that important to me.
Can you tell me who are you saying? Randy Strickland. Who is that?
It's one of their friends. He was at the house.
And who was the man that you mentioned to Carson yesterday that lived behind the Vaughn's house?
Oh, that's the guy that he was saying that he knows. And I said, "Well, how do you know him?" And he's like, "Oh, no, it's just someone that was over there." And I said, "Is it Caesar Garudo?" Because Caesar Garudo stayed at that house for a little bit. Caesar Garudo is in jail for lewd acts with minors. That's probably because I brought up Caesar Garudo is why he's not coming on today. Caesar Garudo is good friends with the people that live behind Brandy and Tyler.
Okay, gotcha.
Truth to Light said, "Can't you call him, Brooks?" Oh, yeah. I've been blowing his phone up all day. I'll call him again. Let's take a second and just look at some footage of Michael with his mama.
Okay, listen, Mama, don't touch nothing else with that hand. You can only touch with this hand, okay? Okay. Can you touch one? Touch the pan. Can you feel how hot that is? Stay back in the stove. It doesn't feel hot. Yeah, but it'll feel hot. Pick it up. Okay, stay Stay back, stay back.
Real homemade cookies. We made real homemade.
We need real homemade cookies.
Can you touch
Don't touch with the other hand.
Aww. So I could grab one.
No, we gotta let them rest.
Aww, I gotta let the cookies rest.
Yeah, because it's hot.
I'm gonna put 2 of those on, so
Okay.
keep it 2 of
Put your
those
glove
on.
on.
Okay.
Got your glove? And you want me to carry it? And we'll put them on the cooling pan?
Yeah, cooling pan. What's a cooling pan?
Or the cooling rack? Yeah, get down. Okay.
Now go.
Got your glove?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you taste that?
No, don't touch the cookies. We touch the pan.
Oh.
Put that glove on. Don't touch anything else. Don't. No. There you go. All right. Look at you. Okay, we'll set it up here. Okay. We'll take our glove off and let that cook for a few minutes, okay?
No, I gotta keep my glove on so I can grab the homemade cookie. Okay.
Okay.
I need the other one on too.
You got 2 gloves. Look, I made real cookies.
Trying to call Carson again.
Is his voice just not the most beautiful voice ever?
Yep, it is. I mean,
Just
listen to his
absolutely.
little voice. I want the cookies. They're too hot. They're too
Your
hot.
call has been
His
forwarded.
little high-pitched voice is just like,
Carson Starkey.
Is not available. The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.
Son of a bitch. I'm going to just keep calling him. And I don't think Carson has anything. Carson's not a suspect. Okay, Carson is not a suspect, but he knows a lot. I couldn't hardly sleep last night. The diamond ring that I believe he still has me spun up. Does law enforcement know these things? Yes, they do. Do not think that I would tell YouTube before law enforcement knows. Tina said, "Can you text him?" Oh yeah, I've been texting him. I've been calling him. Him, seeing the big wheels in the backyard. What freaked you out the most, Samantha?
yeah, well, the reason I think that it freaked me out the most with the big wheel being mentioned is that I've heard heard things mentioned about a big wheel prior to this that, law enforcement was interested in a big wheel or something. I can't really remember exactly what it was. So that's the reason why it kind of floored me, because I've heard a big wheel or tricycle mentioned before. But mostly just because of his timing when he actually mentioned it. It was when you were saying, well, we know that Michael was in the backyard. We know Michael was buried in the backyard and later taken from the backyard. We know that. And he said something to the effect of, well, yeah, I mean, it was kind of strange to know that there was a big wheel in the backyard or big wheels in the backyard. He used plural. I really believe he meant to say big wheel, but yeah, I mean, just because
And let's get something straight. What people call a tricycle is what they call a tricycle. What people call a big wheel is what they call a big wheel. What people call a scooter is what they call a scooter. Now, the scooter that was found by Snake River has nothing to do with this. Okay, that's what Carson calls it, and he has spoken to law enforcement. Matter of fact, he was shitting bricks when he said the cold case foundation, the cold case detectives, he called them, came to his house, and he knew. I mean, I asked him flat out yesterday. I said, "Do you honestly think that they did this?" And he said, "Yeah, yeah."
Well, we've also heard him mention something about dogs hitting on the front door of the Wanderer's house too. I don't know if he said that yesterday or if that was during his JLR interview, but he's
Well, he
mentioned.
said it yesterday. He said the dogs hit right on the front door. And so they knew Stacy was telling the truth, unless they got those lion dogs that they only use in Sebastian's case, according to Chris Profit.
Oh God, don't get me going on Chris Proudfoot. That's a whole nother thing. He reminds me so much of Terry Horman and the Kyron Horman case. The way he tries to control the narrative and control everything, I'm just kind of floored with him.
Yeah, he said it to Web Sleuths. He doesn't know how honest the dogs are. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Well,
It's
these
so
dogs were telling the truth. Let me tell you how honest the dogs are. Because here's Tina's smartass. Tina is Brandon's mother. Shirtless mother, B-Dog, Tina, told KTVB in a message that police came knocking at her door and their cadaver dog alluded to something on her property. She said the dog smelled poop outside near her crawl space from her leaking toilet. According to Idaho Search and Rescue, cadaver dogs do not alert on human feces and are not trained to find it. Tina said B-Dog is residing in North Dakota. Well, he's back now. J.D. Huff told KTVB in a message that he still wants to keep the community updated and informed, but he also must maintain the integrity of the case. They flat out told Tina, they called her out. They said they did not hit on poop. They're not trained for your leaky toilet or your bad pipes. That is not what the cadaver dogs, and I want you to look at that. Cadaver dogs alluded.
Yeah, dogs are not trained to lie. They only are trained, to do their job. They went to that house and they smelt death. That's what that means. And they smelt the same thing on the Wanderer's property. And what do we know about these dogs? We know that Brandon has talked about a duffel bag. We know that there's a scent at the Wanderers and a scent at his mom's. Well, guess who was out of town? His mom.
Yeah,
his mom was out of town when Michael come up missing. So if you have kidnapped this child and you're in that neighborhood, and I'm just kind of speculating here, but you're in that neighborhood, you don't want to be in that neighborhood with that child. You want to get out of there. Police are coming to door, knocking, looking, people are searching and everything else. Maybe you're nervous, maybe you're not. So they leave. They make up some excuse that they have to go over to Brandon's mom's house to get his car and to tow it back from Kuna. And, Michael ends up over there for whatever reason. But cadaver dogs hit on a scent over there. I really did a lot of research when I started doing the Michael Vaughn case, when you turned me on to the Michael Vaughn case. And I did a lot of research when it comes to search dogs, how well they can scent things. They can, smell things 40 to 100 feet in the water, 40 to 100 feet in the ground. I also did a lot of research on decomposition, soil. I can't say the word very well, but anomalies or something like that. It's when dirt has been disrupted and what that means. And Huff actually mentions dirt being disrupted in the Vaughn's backyard, or not in the Vaughn's, excuse me, in the Wanderer's backyard. So all of these things together are pointing to Michael's death, and that at some point Michael could have or was at Tina's house, which is Brandon's mom. And Brandon, I think, is Brandon wants everybody to believe that he's just this really dumb, ignorant, stupid guy. Well, guess what? He's not. He's actually pretty damn smart.
He's a manipulator. He's a manipulator, just like Stacy. Stacy knows how to get money. He knows how to grease the wheels. He knows how to beg, borrow, and steal. He knows. He knows how to get through the system and everything. What did you think when I asked Carson about the duffel bag?
Well, all I heard in his voice was a lot of avoidance. Like he wanted to avoid the question. I don't really know anything about that. I don't know.
I said, he could be going through the interviews right now. I said, because Stacy mentioned this duffel bag and they had to do laundry over there. And I said, supposedly this is a duffel bag that, Brandon just carries around with him all the time. He's like, I've never seen Brandon with a duffel bag.
Yeah. Well, and why is he going over there to his mom's house to wash his clothes when Sarah at the time was literally doing a laundry service, and she was constantly doing everybody's clothes? It was just an excuse. It was just a ruse to tell everybody why they went there. They went there for totally different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my opinion, that's what I believe. And I believe that it was Brandon's idea to go to his mom's because his mom wasn't home and he knew it.
I agree.
Brandon has a lot more involvement than he wants people to think. He thought he was so smart getting up on JLR and talking and making up all of these excuses, and even talking about this crawl space. If you really listen to the things that he says, he almost he throws himself under the bus and makes himself look suspicious because he's trying really hard to play dumb. But in all actuality, he says a lot if you listen. He mentions crawl space. He's talked about the duffel bag. He's talked about being at his mom's house. He puts himself in all of these places where law enforcement is looking. And here he is back in town. He's already being pulled over, getting tickets. He's going into the courthouse just here recently and trying to turn in his insurance information, and they denied it. They didn't even want anything to do with it. Now, either that's because he tried to give them some kind of proof of insurance that, is just now dated and wasn't dated from before, or he tried to hand over some kind of fraudulent insurance paperwork or something, but it wasn't even accepted. And he pays off his fines. His mommy gives him some money, or maybe his grandma give him some money, pay off his fines, goes before a judge and talks to the judge, gets a little slap on the hand, has to go set up, probation and everything else. And then he's already getting in trouble.
What made him come back to Idaho, though? Because he's been hiding out in South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana. He shit a biscuit when FBI showed up on his work site. He didn't know what to do. His boss even said he became like a Ted Bundy. He was coming out of his skin. He said, I thought this guy had changed over the years.
Yeah, he said that he was pacing around, acting really erratic, just like really paranoid all of a sudden, and just started talking about how I just got to get out of here. I got to go. I got to get my stuff and go. And that's exactly what he left. He left. Are you talking about the boss of Montana?
Yep.
Yeah, he told him I've got to go. And I mean, he had left Montana there shortly after. It freaked him out. And I think he's back around town because, for one, I think his dad got tired of his BS, and I don't think he can get away with doing his drugs and doing all of his malicious stuff online, and just all of his really shady crap he's doing. I don't think he can get away with it at his dad's house. I think he needed to come back there to have more fun and do his drugs, sell his drugs, do whatever it is that he's doing. And feel important and around all of these people that he hangs out with that he thinks are just so important people. He wants to be important. He wants people to see him as this important person. And I think that his connections to the people there in that city make him feel that way.
And I also think something spooked him and he came back to Idaho, because I think he was being tailed, because there's no way you can be picked up that quick back to back for really silly traffic charges unless you were being tailed. DT driver said he thinks the dust has settled. It's a false sense of security. Let's take a second and look at more videos of little Michael.
What is that, monkey?
Bear.
What is that?
Hi.
Hi, Bear.
Hi, Bear. Hi, baby.
All right, where'd he go? Oh, he went back the other way.
Hi, Bear.
Hi, Bear. Hi, Bear. I sent an email today to Navalis. He has always, always, always been on the pulse of this case. He knew it. He knew it. Not about the 4 suspects. He could put things together. He is great at what he does. And, well, if you think about this, City of Fruitland said, we would like to thank the public for their help with searching for the lost child, but we need everyone to stay out of the area of Southwest 9th and Southwest 8th Street while we deploy the tracking dog. We will notify the public of any updates and assistance needed. As we know now, that tracking dog ended right there. And as we know, that is where the fake stop for the power steering fluid was at when Stacy claimed to have seen the child. And this child morphed from Michael Vaughn, a child that resembles Michael, to could have been a girl, then suddenly became an 11-year-old Mexican. How that happened, I'll never know. Let's look at some of this that Navalis said, and I love it. What's more likely? The time problem. The time. You don't have to like Brandy Neal. You don't have to like Tyler. You don't have to like how they live. You don't have to like anything about them. But we all understand money. We all understand time. There was no way in hell there was enough time for them to commit this crime. Hang on. Said, not a coincidence. Was Caesars at that friend's house by the Vaughns when this occurred within days leading up to it? According to Carson, when I mentioned, he said a friend of his lives behind the Vaughns, and he said, no, it's a friend of mine. Now, don't get it twisted. Carson is not the, I'd say the Fred Hill of this situation, okay? He is also an RSO. Caesar, for whatever reason, was hanging out at the neighbors behind them, according to Carson. This is Caesar Garudo. He is in jail for lewd acts with minor children. He very well knows Brandon, Stacy, and Sarah. That's him with the peace sign in the back of the truck. That's when they were going, quote unquote, fishing the day before Michael disappeared. You need tackle. You need poles. You need bait to go fishing. I think when they said they were going fishing, they meant something else.
I actually didn't know that was
There's
the
a
day
problem here
before.
now as well because Monkey has flip-flops on. So Tyler won't drive out the main route because there's cameras here. that he probably wouldn't even know about. I don't think anyone knew about because they were on the splash pad over here. That was the one that caught the 2 cars. So he's saying 2. One is getting to Snake River. I don't know. Is he meant to be taking? I assume no. He's meant to be taking the car here, and again, leaving no evidence in the car either. So it needs to be the greatest. The greatest stash of all time. Somewhere, I don't know. All this whole place was searched, and you're not going to be able to. You've no time to go dig. This is horrible stuff, but you've no time to go dig a grave or anything like that. Because you need to be back. You need to be back. Your pizza's on the way.
Think about what he says. He's so right. The time problem. We already know Brandy and Tyler are not involved. But to those in the back that still don't get it, they still don't get it. In the time allotted, how on earth is Tyler going to do all the things he's accused of?
So you just need to, I don't know, truck him somewhere. Then try suddenly turn around like a mad lunatic. Hi, Brandy. I'm sorry I'm talking about this stuff here now as well. I know it's horrible talking about your little boy like this. But the hay is always there, is it? That's a problem again. Drive back. Absolute lunatic. And you need to get back in here. No one's seen you. No dirt in the car. Probably need to put the hay back so as well, I suppose, do we? Get back in. Park a car. No witnesses, even though all these people are after seeing Monkey in the half an hour before, but they spotted nothing there.
And that point is so important. People spotted Monkey. He was outside. He was playing. He was, looking for kids to play with. How would they not see Tyler rolling out of there like a bat out of hell and then coming right back in? They got the pizza. The police were there. How's that going to happen? I don't know.
Right.
Help me.
I mean, he's out there, he's being seen by neighbors, and he's also knocking on doors, I believe. And he's in the neighborhood, so he's seen by himself. It is proven that he wandered away from the home. This was not a Tyler, Brandy, Papa did it situation. There's just too much evidence to point in a totally different direction. That's why they know that Michael was abducted. And another point that I didn't bring up when you said, why do you think Brandon is in Idaho? Well, there's another really simple question to that too. Stacey Wandra was out of jail and he was there, and I 100% completely believe that they had either met up with each other or had conversations with one another.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really believe that.
I agree. 100% agree.
I mean, he does. He gets there just shortly after,
And get back up here to be caught on camera for 7:02, 7:03. And it's frustrating that, because I know people have looked into this who are creating some of the rubbish that's out there. And I know they're not talking about it because it doesn't fit. And I would just ask just people who are leaving comments, who are talking, just look at it. Just look at it yourself. That's all. I have a look at here now with the roads. So the other scenario is the FBI is telling the truth. The Fruitland police are telling the truth. 3 eyewitnesses have Monkey out here 7:15. 6:30, 7:15. We have his scent picked up here, going east. The Ring doorbell camera is down here. He's already past it. I know there was kittens that used to be around here that he used to play with. And as far as I seen from the early reports, that his scent was here as well. We know he's travelled up to the splash pad before. He's already after knocking on 3 doors. He's looking for someone to play with. He's already after coming this far.
By the way, for those that didn't get my memo that I've been bitching about for weeks, Google Earth is very outdated. Navi is just showing the path. He's saying what's more likely, an abduction or that Tyler did this. Tyler did not do this because he didn't have the time. And also, if you know Brandy, Tyler, Bob, anyone in their house, Tyler won't even discipline the kids.
Definitely did not have anything to do with this.
The pawpaw spoils the kids. Google Earth is, well, I mean, I Google Earth my house. It's got a red Jeep sitting outside. I didn't win the Price is Right. I don't have no red Jeep. My car's in the garage.
I think it was around here. Could have been probably up a small bit more. But we have him here, so at 6:45. Let's have a look at Fruitland. Oh my god, I didn't know that time. I'll update that there straight away. What's on the... Is it the footer, is it? Could you let me know the page? Might be the footer.
Liam's Nana said this is such a good representation of what did/didn't happen. And that is the truth. Let's go through a little bit also from Navi's channel, how Brandon tries to break down the day for us. What he leaves out, there's so much information, you couldn't even fill the Grand Canyon with it. That's how much is missing.
Hey, I spent the night there because we came in towing my car from my mom's to their house till we woke up.
He said, I spent the night there because I had to tow my car from my mom's house. That car had been at his mom's house since April of 2021. And also, he was already living there. He didn't spend the night there. He was living there. So there's lie number one. Hold up a finger. Let's start marking these down. And this is a very short clip. That's lie number one. He was living there.
Got up and had breakfast and watched TV and coffee.
I'm going to assume that's lie number two. Nobody was watching TV because Rent-A-Center had repoed the TV. There's lie number two.
Yep, they sure did. And Sarah thought the TV was evil, remember?
Yeah. Rent-A-Center took the TV back because they weren't making their weekly payment.
coffee, and then we went, me and Sarah and one of our other friends that was there visiting for like a week or so because he came in from the airport.
Lie number 3. Adrian did not fly in from the airport. Adrian was picked up from behind a dumpster in Nampa, Idaho, cleaned up, and brought to the house to work for them in the taxi business or whatever else they needed him to do. So we're up to 3, and we're only 19 seconds in.
He was Adrian, and he had like kind of an afro, and we went and did kind of a YouTube video that day where we were trying to make music and kind of like a car crash scene, and we were hanging out with him doing that earlier, him and Adrian were dicking around with this car crash scene, not that day, but days before. And that is before Cesar Garrido got involved and they decided to all 4 of them go fishing. I don't see any guy with an afro in there. Adrian is not in this. No, I am not saying Adrian is innocent. He is a suspect, 100%. And then after that, me, Adrian, and Sarah went to Applebee's, where we dropped him off there after me and Sarah got a chicken sandwich and a soda pop over there.
Chicken sandwich and a soda pop? They did drop him off over there, and they took a picture of Adrian at 4:47. Hold on, let me find it. PM. That gave them enough time to go to the pawn shop to get the iPad that they wanted, get back, get Stacy, and it put them right there when they found Michael. Here's the picture of Adrian where they dropped him off, 4:47 p.m., July 27th, 2021. And let me tell you something about Sarah. She's no soda pop and 1 chicken sandwich at Popeyes type of gal. This bitch will eat a whole bucket of chicken.
At the Popeyes. Sarah took me to lunch over at Popeyes, and she was going to buy a sandwich for me, Adrian, and her, but he said, my family's here, I want to see him, so I'm going to go to Applebee's and go over here and have dinner with them, or lunch with them real quick, and then give me a little bit of time to do that, and then you guys come back and get me. We did
more lies and more lies and more lies. For one, it wasn't lunch. They dropped him off at 4:47. Where it's blurred out, that is a child in the picture. No, it is not Michael. It's a child associated with Adrian. Don't need to bring that child into it. There was a lot of stuff going on that day. So when Brandon says they had all this stuff to do, well, they did. But Brandon was also, as we can see from the picture, walking around the neighborhood in Fruitland, scouting out a child to take.
Yeah, near the splash pad.
Yep, in my opinion.
Did that, and in the meantime, me and Sarah were bored just kind of driving around the mall, and we didn't know what to do, so I drove back over to my house to get a water bottle and fill it up with water to bring back over to their house because I didn't like their water. And then
nope, you drank their water all the time. You were living there. You went to your mom's house to find something to pawn. That's the reason you and Sarah went to the pawn shop after you loaded up on greasy chicken and pop, and you dropped off Adrian. Then you went to the pawn shop with Tina's stolen stuff, and you made it back to Fruitland because you had plans that you knew Adrian was not going to be impressed with, even though he is a suspect. We'll talk about that in another show where I think Adrian comes into this. Let's take a second and play the music, because I'll tell you what, my friends, it is raining in here. Y'all are making me blush. What am I going to do with you?
During that time, after that, we came back to the mall and we picked up Adrian, me and Sarah, and then all three of us.
Adrian's girlfriend picked him up. Adrian's girlfriend picked him up, confirmed, and dropped him off back at the Flop House in Fruitland on July 28th. Why is Brandon lying so much? Why are you lying? Are you one of those dogs in Tennessee that only work for the Proud Feet? Why
And
you
he
lying
lies,
so much?
he lies about stuff that it just doesn't even make sense, the things that he lies about. And then the things that he does talk about are putting him in the certain locations where law enforcement are interested in, and make that make sense. It does not make sense. He just comes up with these extravagant stories about where he was and what they were doing. It's just all storytelling, just like Stacy does. Lies and storytelling.
Lies and storytelling, but the truth is in there. And I think I have a good inkling as to where Adrian fits in because he is a suspect. This is between him and another suspect. He said, "Funky, you now gonna have a hella lawyer fees." And he rolled his eyes. Did y'all really kill that baby boy? Or did y'all just like relocate him somewhere else? Y'all so effed, yo, for Herman kids. Said, how did the boy die? Answer that. I don't know why you even think I had anything to do with taking him. The conversation goes on where it says, and don't forget about Brandon.
Sarah, Adrian, and I, we hopped in the car and we went back to the Fruitland house. I think it was around like 6 or 7 at night. We were in that little Toyota 2016 Toyota Corolla. It's the blue one. I asked them earlier that day if we could use their pickup to go to my house, my mom's house, and get my Mercedes Benz and tow it back over there so I could work on it if I was going to be hanging out over there doing the taxi business. Yeah, I remember going to the gas station. We were probably at the gas station.
Brandon already had wheels. He had a van he'd been driving. He was also, at one time, a Domino's pizza delivery driver where he was driving that van. He wasn't on his bicycle. And the same night that Michael was abducted, the pizza that was ordered was from Domino's. No, Brandon wasn't working that night. Trust me, I've already called that Domino's.
Filling up like right at 7. We came back over there, and then right as soon as we were getting...
Filling up right at 7 was to get the hell out of Dodge because they were on the way to Kuna. But they had very precious cargo with them. And that cargo, in my opinion, is Michael Vaughn. They weren't filling up coming back from Kuna. They were filling up and buying the milk at 7 p.m. to go to Kuna.
Getting the car back to the neighborhood, the whole neighborhood was on high alert looking for the little boy, Michael Vaughn, and they said he went missing right that day earlier, right before we came in with the car we were towing.
No one told their asses that. No one told them that. No one told them that.
And then right as soon as that happened, I went out and tried to look for the kid with Sarah. We got in her little Toyota car and drove to the gas station and drove around after we got out of the pickup, and then tried to look in the field to see if he went down by the river or if he could be out just wandering lost. And, that's what hit my mind first. And then from there, it was me and Sarah. We went to the gas station, got some milk. And
what'd you need milk for?
Well, and why can't he say Michael's name? Why did he talk about the kid? You know what I mean? Him and Stacy both have a really hard time saying Michael's name. And all the interviews that you did with Stacy and in other interviews that he did all over YouTube, I counted one time that Stacy actually said Michael's name. And Brandon, the same thing. They cannot say Michael's name. There's a reason for that. They're avoiding it.
Totally avoiding it. It's called distancing. They're just distancing themselves from what they did. You can't distance for too long. And then Stacy, here's the whole thing about fat ass Stacy. When he didn't even know that Brandon said they had to go get milk. Suddenly, Stacy goes, "Oh, I drink 4 or 5 gallons of milk a day. That was for me." Because when I asked him first about it, he's like, "We didn't go get any milk." He goes, "Maybe Sarah did." Then he got pinned down on it again, and he's like, "Oh, because I'm the one that drinks all that milk. Oh, I drink tons of milk."
Yeah,
Well,
and who drinks gallons and gallons and gallons of milk a day? Come on.
And Lynn is exactly right. Saying his name makes him real.
And then did this and that and came back. And then right when we got back, Carson had his pickup next door with a light bar on it. So I said, "Hey, we need to start this up and kind of go look in the neighborhood and the farmer field and the river. We got to go find this missing."
Nope, didn't happen. They never used Carson's truck. Never, ever, ever, ever.
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions that I wanted to ask Carson, was about that statement right there that he says about borrowing the truck.
Carson has said over and over, "No one drives my truck. No one." Well, for good reason. For one, you have a child missing in the neighborhood, and if a registered sex offender's truck is out tooling around, he's going to be the first one they ask. No one uses my truck. So that is yet another lie. You have got to be kidding me.
Yeah, he tries to play dumb. He really does. He tries to play like so dumb, but I just think he's so much smarter than what he tries to play off. I really do. And I mean, it's just, I don't know. There's something about Brandon. I told you yesterday that I am starting to think or believe that he's the mastermind behind all of that. And I know that you and I disagree on that because you said that you feel like Sarah's the mastermind. But I'm really starting to wonder about Brandon. I recently started listening to more of his interviews and stuff and just really trying to break things down. And I don't know, there's just something in his words that make me feel like this could have been his idea to take Michael.
And that could be because he was tired of having sex with Sarah. And just imagine Stacy sitting in the living room eating his cheesy poofs as his wife's getting railed by Brandon. Because he was supposed to be giving her a baby. Hang on. Sud said, "So you say they can't even say his name, but when they do, you're all like, I can't believe they say his name. Makes me sick to my stomach." Well, which one is it? Suds, I think you misinterpreted something I said. These are sick individuals. And thank you so much, Rusty, for gifting a Crime Lines and Lies membership. Thank you, my friend.
Monkey.
He's fighting with his shadow. Giddy up.
He's so beautiful. Everything about him, the way he laughs and the way he talks, I love hearing his high-pitched voice. Brandy, if you're out there and you're listening, hon, I just want to give you a little shout out and tell you that I love you, and I've been thinking about you and the family a lot lately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we did not drop your link. Hang on. I thought that was already been done. Hang on.
I'm having trivia night tonight.
Oh,
We
no.
are having trivia night on the Michael Vaughn case. We're just going to be, it's kind of our way of like bringing some awareness to Michael. And we're just going to be asking, I mean, how well do you guys think you know the Michael Vaughn case, first of all? If you think you know it well, come on over. See us later tonight. It's 7:30 Pacific Northwest time. So we're over here on the West Coast. But yeah, just going to ask simple questions about Michael Vaughn and have some fun. I put it up as a members only, and then I realized we have 3 members. Don't have very many members. We just got monetized, so
I'll have more. I have a feeling you'll have more. So let's do this. You guys sub up to our good friend Sam. He does amazing research and amazing work. Woo! Well, I'll tell you what, I'm extra pissed at Carson today, but I'll get a hold of him. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
This is just one snippet of our conversation yesterday, recorded with permission. Oh, okay. Well, I wish we knew more about where they got the diamond ring. So he gave you, I mean, did you ever find out if that diamond ring was worth anything, or was like just like some chiplets or something?
No, it's a diamond ring. I have it checked out. It's good. I wasn't going to do the job for some fake diamond ring.
Well, I don't blame you.
I was bringing it out, but it wasn't last night.
Well, I'm just kind of wondering if it didn't come from Sarah's mother, Kay.
I don't know.
No, we can't speculate on that. All right. So
all I know is she was talking about a diamond ring, and I told him, well, you want me to do that job? I'll do it for that ring. And he agreed. He talked to Sarah. They agreed, and I did the board joint job for him.
We'll get to more of that later. And people can, I mean, if he traded ball bearings for $2,500, again, I do not believe that Carson has anything to do with Michael's abduction. I don't. Fleur said, what if he recognizes your number, Brooks? Oh, he probably does. I mean, shit, everyone's got my phone number. I'm not hiding from anybody. But I'm going to stay on his ass all fucking day. Well, I want to say thank you so much to our wonderful friend Samantha. She has a super busy week and a huge show coming up we're all going to be there for. And where do you think we are with this right now? What do you think is holding back charges?
I don't know. I feel like, maybe the DA, has this information in there, because information was just recently turned into the DA again, and they're just going through and sifting through the information, trying to compile all of the stuff that they have, because it takes a little bit to do it. So let them get everything they need together, dotting their I's, crossing their T's, and then hopefully it just moves forward and the indictments go out and people are arrested. Hopefully Brandon has a court date here soon coming up and he's arrested for already messing up on his probation. That would be great. Then we're going to have 3 out of the 4 suspects sitting in jail. And I love that idea.
I love that idea too. And you're so right, because, you know, justice is not served in a microwave. It's served in a crock pot. It takes a long time to put it together. You get
It
one
really does.
shot. Do we want it done right? Or do we want to be talking in 2 years going, I can't believe that DA fucked up. This is just like Casey Anthony all over again.
Or like where we are with Kyron Horman 14 years later. That's coming up in June. Which, by the way, if you don't mind me announcing, we're getting together in Portland, Oregon, June 1st at 10 a.m. Skyline Elementary School in Portland, Oregon, to pass out flyers to bring awareness in Kyron Horman's case. I would love to see people there, and we're also encouraging everybody that comes to help us pass out those flyers to go over to the second Fred Meyers off of Walker Road where Terry visited, where Kyron Horman's mom will be doing a car wash. Go get your car wash there. If you don't want to come hang flyers, help her, you know, support her. She uses that money to search for Kyron and to, you know, pay for a private investigator. Just, you know, she uses that money for all kinds of stuff. So, you know, everybody that knows me and has seen me on this channel before, we're always about Kyron. We're always about Michael. And that's what we're doing June 1st. And I need 50 people. That's all I need, 50 people. So if you're from Portland, Oregon, come join us.
Well, I guarantee we can get them together. I guarantee Wiss is not too far from you. I know a lot of people in that area. Hell, I'll send JPL over. She's in bed right now.
Well, we're doing this for law enforcement because tips usually come in between June and September, because June is when he came up missing in 2010 and September is his birthday. So they get a lot of leads and they get a lot of tips. And we decided to help law enforcement get even more by posting 1,000 flyers in the direct area where Kyron came up missing, where we know Terry Horman and Dee Dee Spicer did something with Kyron on June 4th, 2010.
And we will be there for you. I guarantee. And just like you guys are here every day for all the right reasons. I want to say thank you again to Miss Always Right Ryan for supporting the channel. Pat K, thank you for supporting the channel. Oh, look at that. Crime Lines and Lies gifted 5 Crime Lines and Lies memberships. Kimberly Mann, girl, you're giving the love. Rusty, woo! You know, you guys don't ever forget about Michael Vaughn or any of the cases we talk about. I know when things, you know, when the pot's boiling over and we're on the edge of our seat, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. Something's about to bust in Michael Vaughn's case, and we will never give up. You guys are the best. My hat's off to Samantha for her tireless work. And you know what? We'll see you over on your show tonight, my friend.
All right, Brooks. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, chat, for always sending the love. I really appreciate everybody. Have a great week and hopefully see everybody later this evening.
Will do. Love you all.